Classroom 9 was not like other classrooms. It was large and filled with strange cages, glowing tubes and humming machines. Every student had a fear beast. Fear beasts were creatures that came from the deepest fears of their owners. They were dangerous, wild, and very strong. The aliens who ran the school warned that no one could fully control them at first. Even the teachers were careful. Today the students were ready for a special test. They had to release their fear beasts in the classroom and show how they could handle them. The hall was quiet and tense. The alien teacher, tall and blue-skinned, walked slowly along the rows. "Remember," it said in a low voice, "these creatures are powerful. If you lose control, it will not be safe. Only skill and courage will keep you alive." Some students looked scared. Their beasts were already growling inside their cages. Long claws scratched the walls. Eyes that glowed red and green stared at the students. Some beasts were small, others were enormous, taller than a human. A few even had wings or multiple heads. The air smelled sharp like ozone and metal. One human student, named Kai, sat calmly in his chair. His fear beast was the largest in the room. It was dark, like smoke and shadow combined, and its eyes were deep gold. The other students whispered among themselves. "Do you think he can control that thing?" one alien student asked. Another shook its head. "Humans are strange," it said. "They face fear differently." The teacher raised its hand and the signal came. Every student opened the cage of their fear beast. The room suddenly erupted in sound. Growls, roars, screeches, and hissing filled the hall. Some students barely held their creatures. One small alien tried to command its beast, but it lunged forward, knocking over tables. Another student ran to stop a giant lizard-like creature, but it snapped its jaws and hissed. Kai did nothing. He stayed calm. He whispered quietly to his beast, "Easy, buddy." The shadow-like creature paused. It tilted its head, listening. Its gold eyes looked at Kai, then slowly it stepped out of the cage. The hall went quiet. Every other fear beast had roared, lunged, or slammed into walls. But Kai's beast only moved slowly, almost carefully, following him. Aliens stared in shock. No one had ever seen a fear beast act like this. Some whispered, "Is it afraid of him?" Others shook their heads. "No," one teacher muttered. "It's choosing to listen. This is unusual." Kai walked to the center of the hall. His beast followed, moving like a shadow on the floor. He didn't pull a leash or shout commands. He just stayed calm and spoke softly. "Easy, buddy," he repeated. The creature's eyes stayed on him, gold and steady. The hall was full of chaos, yet Kai and his fear beast were calm. The alien teacher watched closely. "Observe," it said to the class. "Courage is not just strength. Calmness and trust can be stronger than force." The other students were nervous. Their beasts were wild and the chaos was growing. Some were even scared of their own creatures. One student shouted, trying to stop a beast that had started knocking over chairs. Another student ran, tripping over a fallen table. Kai's calmness was different. His beast circled him once, then lay down beside his feet. It did not attack or panic. The other students gasped. The creature was huge, dark, and dangerous. Yet it rested quietly, like it trusted Kai completely. The hall stayed loud for a few more moments. Other beasts still roared and scratched, but Kai's shadow beast stayed calm. He crouched beside it and patted its head. The gold eyes blinked slowly, relaxed. The aliens could not believe what they were seeing. A human had made a fear beast calm, not by force, not by yelling, but by understanding it. Some alien students stared, wide-eyed. "How did he do that?" one whispered. Another said, "Humans are strange creatures. They do not fight fear the same way we do." The teacher nodded slowly. "Yes," it said. "Humans are not just strong. They have something different inside. Something we need to watch carefully." Kai smiled slightly. He whispered again, "Easy, buddy." The shadow creature rested fully, letting out a small, quiet rumble. The other students' beasts were still active, but the lesson was clear. Power was not just about strength or fear. Calmness, trust, and understanding could change everything, even the most dangerous creature in the hall. The first test was over, but the room was buzzing with whispers. Aliens had learned something new today. Humans were not predictable. They were not afraid in the same way as other species. And sometimes they could do things that no one else could even imagine. Kai stood and looked at his beast. It rose slowly, moving with him, but it did not attack or panic. The other students looked uneasy. They did not understand how a human could calm such a creature. Some wondered if humans had a special bond with fear itself. Kai only smiled quietly. He knew it was not about controlling the beast. It was about understanding it, and that made all the difference. The hall was still shaking from the release of the fear beasts. Tables were knocked over, sparks flew from broken machines, and some students were trying to calm their creatures. Roars echoed off the walls and the air smelled sharp, like electricity and smoke. Every student was tense, afraid of what might happen next. Kai stayed calm. His shadow beast curled at his feet, breathing slowly. It watched the chaos around them but did not move. The other students' beasts roared, snapped, and hissed at anything that came near. Some creatures were large and clawed, some had wings, some had tails that smashed tables. Every step was dangerous. Every movement could have hurt someone. But Kai's beast remained calm. The alien teacher raised a hand. "Observe the humans closely," it said. Its voice echoed across the hall. "They are not like us. Their fear works differently. Watch carefully." Some alien students whispered among themselves. "Why does that human remain calm?" one asked. Another shook its head. "It's strange. His creature listens to him even in chaos." The teacher then triggered the next part of the test. The lights went out and a warning siren filled the hall. Energy traps lit up on the floor, pulsing blue grids that could burn anyone who stepped on them. Small fires popped up in random places and platforms in the hall shifted suddenly. The beasts panicked. One giant, many-headed creature lunged at a moving platform and nearly fell off. A small alien student screamed, trying to pull her beast back. Sparks flew everywhere. Chaos filled the hall. Some students tried to shout commands but the beasts ignored them. Many were too scared or too angry to listen. Kai did not move. He crouched slightly and whispered, "Easy, buddy." His shadow beast's ears twitched. Its gold eyes locked onto Kai's face. Slowly, it stood and moved carefully around the fire and traps, following him like it knew the safest path. It stepped over obstacles with perfect balance, never rushing, never panicking. The alien students gasped. Some creatures had never obeyed so quickly. Some had tried to command beasts before, but the animals only resisted. Some students had minor injuries, and a few fear beasts were starting to hurt themselves from panic. But Kai and his beast moved like one being. The hall seemed to pause for a moment. Even the other creatures hesitated when Kai's shadow beast passed. It was as if the calmness was contagious. Some smaller beasts stopped mid-roar, staring at the human and his creature. The alien teacher raised its eyes in surprise. "Humans," it muttered. "They face fear without attacking it. They calm it. This is rare." Kai continued slowly through the hall. He did not shout. He did not try to fight. He simply stayed steady. When a fire suddenly appeared in front of his beast, he stepped to the side, and the creature followed without hesitation. A moving platform tilted, and the shadow beast balanced perfectly, keeping Kai safe. The other students could only watch in awe. Some alien students tried to imitate him. They shouted, commanded, waved their hands, but their fear beasts ignored them or they became more violent. Their eyes went wide with fear. But Kai's calmness was steady, unshakable. It was not fearlessness. It was control of fear itself. By the end of the obstacle course, most of the other students were exhausted. Their beasts were tired, some had minor injuries, and a few were beginning to calm down only slowly. But Kai's shadow beast stayed alert and calm, following his movements exactly. It did not fight or panic. It moved around the hazards with care, trusting Kai completely. Finally, Kai reached the center of the hall. He stopped and the shadow beast sat beside him. It curled up slightly, breathing slowly. The other creatures were still tense, but Kai's calmness seemed to hold a small space of peace in the middle of the chaos. The alien teacher's eyes widened. "Observe," it said quietly. "This is not control through fear. This is trust." Some alien students whispered in disbelief. "How is he doing it?" one asked. Another said, "He does not even need force. He just understands it." The room was filled with chaos, but Kai's calmness created a bubble of order around him. The shadow beast did not obey commands, it chose to stay calm. It had made its own decision. Kai reached out a hand slowly and patted the beast's head. "Easy, buddy," he said again. Its gold eyes blinked slowly, relaxed, almost smiling. The hall was still dangerous around them, but the center was quiet. Other students realized that brute strength could not calm a fear beast. Only understanding, patience, and trust could do that. The hall froze for a moment. Even the other beasts paused to watch Kai. He smiled slightly. He knew it was not about showing power. It was about connection. In that moment, the aliens watching understood something important. Humans were different. They faced fear in a way that no one else could. And sometimes that made them stronger than any weapon, stronger than any beast, stronger than any trap. Kai stayed in the center of the hall. His shadow beast curled at his side, breathing slowly. The other students' beasts were still chaotic, but a lesson had been learned. Humans did not always fight fear with force. They could calm it, understand it, and even make it their ally. And that was something the aliens would never forget. The hall was quiet for a moment after the obstacle course, but the alien teacher was not done. Now, it said, we will see true skill. This is a test of trust. The lights dimmed and new challenges appeared. The floor shifted, smoke filled parts of the hall, and hidden traps glowed red, ready to snap shut at the slightest touch. The beasts became uneasy again. Some hissed, growled, and thrashed, feeling danger everywhere. Kai's shadow beast stood beside him, calm and steady. It sniffed the smoke but did not panic. Other students glanced at him nervously. Even their own beast seemed to hesitate when Kai passed. The teacher raised its arms and signaled the start. Suddenly, a series of energy barriers appeared, forming a path only the bravest could navigate. Sparks flew from the barriers and the floor trembled with moving platforms. One wrong step could injure a beast, or the student. The other students shouted commands, waving their hands and yelling. Their beasts became more restless. Some were biting the air, others spinning wildly. One young alien screamed as its creature lunged toward a barrier, crashing through it. Kai stayed calm. He crouched slightly and whispered, "Easy, buddy." The shadow beast's ears twitched. Its golden eyes focused on Kai. Slowly it moved, following him carefully through the traps. When the floor tilted suddenly, it adjusted its weight perfectly, keeping balance. When a wall of smoke appeared, it paused, letting Kai guide it through. It never hesitated or panicked. The other students watched in disbelief. Some tried to copy Kai, but their beasts did not listen. Yelling and forcing only made the creatures more aggressive. One student's fire lizard jumped and burned a table. Another's clawed beast lashed at a platform, nearly knocking a student over. Every attempt to control through fear or force failed. Kai and his shadow beast moved as one. He pointed to safe paths, stepped carefully, and whispered encouragement. "Easy, buddy," he said again. The beast followed every small gesture, trusting him completely. It was not obedience through fear. It was understanding and connection. The alien teacher's eyes widened. "Observe carefully," it said. "This is not training through force. This is trust. Humans have a way of facing danger that no other species has." The other students murmured. They had never seen a fear beast move calmly in a hall full of danger. Most creatures reacted with panic, yet Kai's beast stayed steady, alert, and safe. A sudden hazard appeared, a swinging pendulum that could crush anything in its path. Most beasts backed away or tried to attack the pendulum. Kai waited, watching it swing. When it moved closer, he stepped slowly to the side, and the shadow beast followed perfectly. Its claws barely touched the floor, avoiding sparks. The other students gasped. The hall was filled with tension. Smoke, sparks, and trembling floors made it feel impossible to navigate. Some students began to panic. Their beasts growled and spun, knocking over chairs and tables. But Kai and his shadow beast were in perfect sync. They moved quietly, carefully, trusting each other completely. No force. No shouting. Just calmness and understanding. When they reached the center again, Kai crouched and looked at the beast. It stayed close, breathing slowly, golden eyes steady. The alien students stared. How is it doing that?" one whispered. Another shook its head. "Humans are not like us. They do not fight fear, they face it in a way we cannot understand." The teacher nodded slowly. "Yes, humans have something different inside. They turn fear into an ally, not an enemy. They do not dominate, it is choice, not force. Watch carefully, for this is rare in the galaxy." Kai patted the shadow beast gently. "Good job," he whispered softly. It made a low rumble, content and calm. It could have attacked any moment, but it chose not to. The hall, dangerous as it was, seemed smaller now because of their trust. Other students realized that controlling a fear beast was not about strength or intimidation. It was about connection. Some smaller beasts even paused to watch Kai and his shadow beast. Even in chaos, something about his calmness was powerful. The other students were exhausted, their beasts restless, but Kai's shadow beast stayed alert yet relaxed. He smiled slightly. It was not about winning or proving strength. It was about understanding, patience, and trust. The alien teacher stepped forward. "Remember this lesson," it said. "Humans are not just strong. They are unique. They face fear without letting it control them. That is their power." Kai nodded quietly. He knew the lesson was not for himself but for everyone watching. He reached out his hand and the shadow beast curled beside him, trusting him completely. The hall was still dangerous, but a small bubble of calm surrounded them. Chaos raged on around, yet humans had shown that understanding fear could be stronger than force. That day the students learned something new. Sometimes patience and trust could conquer what strength and fear could not. And humans, they realized, were masters of that rare skill. Kai stayed in the center, shadow beast at his side. The other students' beasts were restless, but the lesson had been clear. True strength was not about fighting, it was about trust. And in that hall, among the chaos, humans had shown it better than anyone else. The hall was still shaking from the trials, but the alien teacher had one more challenge. This is the final stage, it said. We will see who truly understands their beast. The lights dimmed and the floor shifted again. Obstacles appeared without warning, falling beams, swinging pendulums, and sudden bursts of smoke. The beasts hissed and roared, sensing danger everywhere. The air was thick with tension. Most students panicked. Their beasts jumped, growled, and clawed at the floor. A few creatures crashed into walls, others spun wildly, frightened by the sudden traps. The room smelled of smoke and ozone. Students shouted, trying to command their beasts, but nothing worked. Fear and anger only made the creatures more dangerous. Kai stayed calm. He crouched slightly, whispering, "Easy, buddy." His shadow beast moved closer to him, eyes glowing softly. It sniffed the air, alert but not afraid. It followed every small movement Kai made. The other students watched, wide-eyed, as the chaos of the hall seemed to shrink around him. The alien teacher raised its arms. "Observe carefully. Humans are different. They do not dominate fear. They understand it." Some alien students murmured in disbelief. "How can one human control a fear beast in this chaos?" one asked. Another shook its head. "It is not control. It is trust." Suddenly, a massive trap swung across the hall. It could have crushed anything in its path. The other beasts panicked. One lizard-like creature leaped blindly and almost fell into a pit. Another clawed beast smashed a platform and roared. Chaos returned, louder than before. Kai did not move quickly. He waited, watching the pendulum. When it swung close, he stepped slowly to the side. The shadow beast mirrored him perfectly, moving carefully between sparks and falling beams. It balanced on moving platforms without hesitation. Every step was cautious but confident. The other students stared. None of their beasts could react so calmly. A wall of smoke rose suddenly, thick and choking. Most students' creatures panicked, growling and spinning. But Kai whispered again, "Easy, buddy," and the shadow beast followed his path through the smoke without panic. It trusted him completely. No fear, no anger, only calm focus. The alien teacher's eyes widened. "Incredible," it murmured. "This is not dominance. This is choice. The beast chooses trust." Some alien students shook their heads. Humans are not like us. They face fear differently. They do not fight it, they accept it. Kai reached the center of the hall. He stopped, and the shadow beast crouched beside him, curling slightly. Its gold eyes glowed softly, relaxed but alert. The other students' beasts were still restless, but Kai's beast was calm, as if it understood everything Kai thought. The hall, filled with smoke, sparks, and moving traps, suddenly felt smaller around them. The teacher spoke again. "Notice how fear can be changed. Most species react with panic or aggression. Humans, they transform it. They create trust where others see only danger." The other students whispered. They had never seen such a connection between a human and a fear beast. Most had spent months trying to control their creatures, yet Kai had done it effortlessly. Kai crouched and patted the shadow beast gently. "Good job," he whispered softly. The beast made a low, calm rumble. It could have attacked any moment, but it did not. It had made its own choice. The students watched in silence, understanding that this was more than control, it was a bond built on trust. Some smaller beasts even paused to watch. They seemed to sense the calm between Kai and his shadow beast. Other students looked uneasy, realizing that strength and fear could not win here. Only understanding, patience, and trust could succeed. Kai stood slowly. The shadow beast rose and moved with him, still calm and alert. It did not lunge or growl. It had chosen him not because he forced it but because it trusted him. The alien teacher nodded. "This is what I wanted to see. Not power. Not domination. Just trust." Humans understand it naturally. The hall was still dangerous. Sparks flew, platforms shifted, and some beasts still panicked. But Kai and his shadow beast moved through it like one being. No force, no shouting, only calm and careful steps. The other students realized something important. Humans faced fear not by fighting it but by becoming part of it. By understanding it. Kai reached the far side of the hall. The shadow beast crouched beside him again, breathing slowly, relaxed but aware. The aliens and students could see that this bond was different. Most fear beasts reacted to chaos with aggression. Kai's beast reacted with calm. It had chosen to trust him completely. The alien teacher stepped forward, voice quiet but full of respect. Remember this lesson. Humans do not dominate fear. They transform it. And in this, they are stronger than most species in the galaxy. Kai smiled slightly, patting his beast. It leaned against him, resting its head gently on his shoulder. The other students' beasts were still wild, but the lesson was clear. Humans did not fight with brute strength alone. They could create peace in the middle of chaos. They could transform fear into trust. And in that hall, among the sparks, smoke and moving platforms, humans had shown something no one else could. Kai stood quietly with his shadow beast. The hall was still alive with danger, but they had reached a turning point. Trust had won where fear and force had failed. The aliens understood now, humans were not just strong. They were something else entirely. The hall was quiet now, except for the sound of breathing and the occasional shuffle of moving platforms. The chaos of the previous trials had passed, but the air was still tense. The alien teacher walked slowly through the hall, observing the students and their fear beasts. Most creatures were restless, growling or pacing. But Kai's shadow beast lay curled at his feet, calm and alert. Its golden eyes followed him, but there was no threat in them. The alien teacher stopped and looked at the human. Observe closely, it said. This is what I wanted to see. Not dominance. Not control. Trust. Humans face fear in a way no other species does. Some alien students whispered among themselves. How is it possible? One asked. It is not control, another answered quietly. It is connection. The beast trusts him. Kai smiled slightly and crouched to pat his shadow beast. Easy buddy, he whispered softly. The creature let out a low rumble of contentment and leaned closer to him. It could have attacked or panicked, but it did not. It had made a choice. It had chosen trust over fear. The other students began to calm their fear beasts as well, slowly realizing that shouting or forcing would not help. Some creatures still growled or hissed, but many began to watch Kai and his shadow beast. The lesson was clear. Humans did not rely on strength or fear to control dangerous creatures. They relied on understanding, patience, and calm. The alien teacher nodded and raised its voice so all students could hear. Let this be a lesson. Humans are not predictable. They do not face fear like others. They do not dominate. It is not their way. They transform fear into something new. They create trust. And that is their power. Some alien students looked skeptical, still trying to understand. They are not stronger in the usual way, one whispered. No, another replied, but they are stronger in ways we cannot measure. They are something else. Kai stood, shadow beast following quietly beside him. He looked at the other students, then at the teacher. He did not boast. He did not try to show off. He simply moved calmly, confident in the bond he had formed with his creature. The room felt different. The tension that had filled the hall was replaced with a quiet respect. One alien student stepped forward, looking at Kai's shadow beast. It listens, because it wants to? The teacher nodded. Yes. Most creatures obey out of fear or force. Humans face fear and create choice. The creature chooses to trust. That is rare. That is extraordinary. Kai reached out and let the shadow beast nuzzle his hand. The golden eyes blinked slowly. The hall, filled with sparks and obstacles just minutes before, now seemed peaceful around them. The other students' beasts had begun to settle too, though not as completely. They had witnessed something unique. A human had turned chaos into calm, danger into trust. The teacher turned to the class. This is why humans are remarkable. They survive where others panic. They build trust where others see only danger. They do not just face challenges, they transform them. They are a new variable in this galaxy. Never underestimate them. Some alien students whispered to each other. I think I understand now. Humans do not fight fear, they use it. They turn it into an ally. That is why they succeed where others fail. Another student added quietly, they are not like us. They are something more. Kai smiled faintly. He crouched beside the shadow beast again and whispered, Easy buddy. The creature curled fully against him, content and calm. Other students watched in awe. The lesson was more than about controlling fear beasts. It was about humans themselves. Humans were patient, brave, and able to understand even the most dangerous creatures. The alien teacher looked around the hall one last time. "Class dismissed," it said. But there was no hurry to leave. The students lingered, watching Kai and his shadow beast. They had learned something new today. Humans were not just participants in the galaxy, they were a force unlike any other. Calm, understanding, and brave, they could face danger in ways no other species could. Kai stood and stretched. The shadow beast rose with him, still calm and trusting. Together, they walked slowly to the exit of the hall. The other students followed at a distance, still amazed by what they had seen. The teacher muttered to itself, "Humans, they are unpredictable. They are strong in ways we cannot measure. They are something else entirely." Kai reached the door and paused. He looked back at the hall, at the other students, and at the teacher. He smiled, not arrogantly but quietly. The shadow beast curled back at his side, relaxed. The hall had been a place of fear and chaos, but humans had changed it with calm, trust, and understanding. That was their strength. That was their power. That was why humans were something else. As the hall emptied, whispers followed them. The lesson was clear. Humans were different. They could tame the wildest fears not by force but by choice. They could turn chaos into calm, danger into trust, and fear into strength. The galaxy had seen many powerful species, but humans were something more. Kai and his shadow beast left the hall together. Calm, confident, and unshakable. The other students watched in awe. And in that moment, everyone understood the truth. Humans were not just another species. They were a force the galaxy could never ignore.